Once upon a time, in a town that sat where two roads met, and the seasons liked to argue, there stood an old clock tower. The clock tower had kept time for generations, its bell calling bakers, teachers, and fishermen to their work. When the town grew busier and people began to race from place to place, the clock tower's keeper, an elderly man named Jonas, noticed something else changing. Neighbors no longer paused to ask how someone was, and small favors that used to pass like coins across porches had become rare. Jonas kept a quiet rule. Each morning, he climbed the narrow stairs of the tower, wound the great mechanism, and then walked the market with a small notebook. He wrote down one thing he would do that day to help someone else. Sometimes it was simple: mend a torn apron, carry a basket for an elderly neighbor, or teach a child how to read the clock's hands. He never announced his list. He believed that time was not only measured by minutes, but by the small acts that made minutes kinder. One summer, a heat wave settled over the town and the river ran low. The mill slowed, tempers frayed, and the market's laughter grew thin. A young mother named Rosa, who worked 2 jobs, fell ill and could not fetch water for her family. Her neighbors were busy, each with their own urgent tasks. Jonas, who had noticed Rosa's absence from the morning market, crossed her threshold with a pitcher and a promise. He would bring water each day until she recovered. Jonas's daily visits were small, but they were steady. People began to notice the rhythm of his kindness. A grocer who had once hurried past Jonas's shop stopped to ask if he needed help carrying the pitcher. A teenager who had been glued to his phone offered to fetch wood for Rosa's stove. The town's pace did not slow, but its edges softened. When Rosa recovered, she did not forget the faces that had shown up. She baked bread and taught the teenager how to knead dough. The grocer started a small rota to help neighbors in need. Jonas's notebook became a quiet contagion. Others began keeping lists of one helpful thing to do each day. A carpenter promised to fix one broken hinge. A teacher promised to stay after class once a week to help a struggling student. A bus driver promised to give a free ride to someone who needed to get to an interview. The town's measure of time shifted from speed to steadiness. People still hurried when they had to, but they also learned to pause and ask, "How can I help today?" Years later, when the town debated whether to replace the old clock tower with a modern digital display, the debate was not only about cost, it was about memory. The clock tower had been a place where Jonas's lists were read aloud on market mornings and where neighbors met to trade favors. The town chose to keep the tower and to restore it, not because it was efficient, but because it reminded them to be present for one another. Jonas passed on his notebook to a young apprentice who had learned to wind the gears and to notice the small absences in the market. The apprentice kept the habit, and the town kept the practice. The clock tower still marked hours, but it also marked the days when someone had shown up for another person. The bell rang not only for work, but for the small, steady promises that stitched the community together. Wisdom. Time is most generous when it is spent on others. Small, consistent acts of help become the architecture of a caring life. If you like this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to English Motivational Short Stories.